Welcome to all of you from all over Europe and probably beyond. Welcome to the European Film Forum at the Berlinale in the studio of the European Film Market. Green, greener, greening is a priority of the European Commission and also a horizontal priority of the media program. The subject, obviously, I would say the imperative, is of utmost importance as this European Film Forum topic shows. And I would say shows again, because you might remember 2 years ago, I was also hosting the EFF, and it was also about sustainability. So I'm glad to see that sustainability is a sustainable topic, and it's more than that. My name is AC Coppens of the Catalyst, and I'm very glad and really delighted to have an eye again on this topic together with the European Commission and guide you through this program today. As most of you know, back in December 2020, the European Commission adopted a media and audiovisual action plan aiming to support recovery, but also transformation of the media and audiovisual sectors. The action plan proposes 10 initiatives, including Action 6, towards a climate-neutral audiovisual sector, which is the key theme of this European Film Forum today. So, of course, measurement of carbon emissions and labels for green productions are at the heart of the initiatives, all around across Europe. But those of you who are involved in international production, co-production, sometimes the lack of coordination is a limiting factor as soon as cooperation goes across borders. So it is definitely building on the needs of the industry, the mobilization of the industry itself, that over the last months, the Commission has been facilitating discussions via a technical working group tasked with the development of a common methodology for the measurement of CO2 emissions in the audiovisual sector. And today, we will learn more about this work, the results, the commitment to work together, and of course, envision together concrete outcomes for the audiovisual industry. So let me drive you through the program and what is expecting you today. First, we will have an introduction by Lucia Recalde, the Deputy Director, Head of Unit Audiovisual Industry and Media Support Programs at the European Commission. We will then discuss You Are What You Measure, my favorite title, experience so far with carbon calculators, about different methodologies, results so far, and the lesson learned to envision the potential for a coordinated approach. And I will welcome Maximilian Höhnle of the MFG, Rosa Canela-Mas from the Albert program, Luz Molina, Pro Malaga and Eureka Project. After this discussion, the greening expert, Philippe Gassman, will present a simplified methodology of CO2 emissions based on a limited set of parameters, a consistent measurement methodologies and benchmarks to allow for better comparability of results. Next up, a second discussion around what's in it for businesses with Fiona Ball of Sky, Alexandra Lebray of the European Producers Club, and Thomas Morawski, producer of Hackafilm. And we will close the forum with Martin Dawson, Deputy Head of Unit Audiovisual Industry and Media Support Programs at the European Commission. So that's what's coming up next. But now, based on the assumption that the industry is best placed to assess its need, I'm delighted to welcome Lucia Recalde to talk about when the industry comes together. And I will say, Lucia, you will continue my sentence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, AC. Well, good morning, panelists, participants. I'm really delighted to open this panel discussion on progress towards the measurement of audiovisual productions and working towards a climate neutral audiovisual sector, because it's obvious that the climate change is the most important issue, challenge of our times. And it is really widely recognized that the film and TV in particular can and should make a significant contribution. So we, if I can say, we have to walk the talk. So greening is the sport, as you mentioned, AC, a core part of the Media and Audiovisual Action Plan of the European Commission. And it's really beyond that, a long-standing priority for the European Commission at large. So faced with this big challenge, we know that you audiovisual professionals have already taken several initiatives in this field. And certainly we acknowledge and we welcome these initiatives that we intend to promote, to accompany, but also to take them to the next level. So we have also realized that measurement of emissions using diverse calculators, methodologies, labels, it's really not fit for the cross collaboration and comparability that we like to achieve, because there is a certain lack of coordination. And with this in mind, last year in June, we decided at the European Commission to launch a structured dialogue with the audiovisual industry on the greening. And we decided, of course, following these very preliminary discussions with the industry, to focus in the first place on the development of a common carbon emissions measurement system. And first, I would like to give an immense thanks to all panelists and all those who have taken part on this dialogue, and in particular to the teams working on existing calculators. Really, can't thank you enough. Why I think this has been really a very successful experience, because we have followed a very pragmatic, business-driven approach. And we have let the stakeholders speak themselves, put forward their ideas, and really we have tried to take them forward. It's really about working together, I would say driven by a sense of common purpose, which is addressing this big climate challenge. So the objectives, at least from the European Commission, were twofold. First place, we don't want to substitute things that already exist and are working well. So we don't want to change a winning formula. But at the same time, we wanted to build this common measurement methodology that could be integrated into existing calculators. But also, that's the second objective on our side. We wanted to promote the access to an easy, very simple and user-friendly system to as many companies as possible across EU 27 countries, because it's important that all production companies from all over Europe are really start using as much as possible those tools to measure CO2 emissions. So I'm really also glad to announce today that this commitment to work together among all these different organizations has been formalized in a common statement. And this statement first acknowledges the work and the results that have achieved so far, and you will learn more in a minute about it, but also the engagement to work together in the near future towards the development and implementation of this common methodology. We are convinced that this is an excellent basis for the work to continue, and the Commission will be fully behind supporting the industry in this endeavor. We'll support this with all the means we have, including also, whenever appropriate, financial support from the media program. We really would like to use the program as much as possible to incentivize those changes in the industry. So I wish you a very fruitful debate. Again, thanks for all the work that has been accomplished so far. And I'm really looking forward to continue this work with you in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Lucia. But please, if I have just 1 minute to ask you a question, because it seems to me that in this constellation, you're talking no substitution, etc. So you're using what's going to be in place, but you want to enable this. So it seems to me that the EU is acting like a honest broker, so to speak, right? Something like an enabler with a quite transparent approach. Is this the role that the European Commission is willing to take?
Absolutely. If you look at the Media and Audiovisual Action Plan adopted more than a year ago, one big priority is really enabling and empowering the industry. So it's really at the heart of what we want to do and the way we want to work with the industry. So we have to build on the assets we have. And in this case, clearly there are many good different initiatives that have been taken across the Union to measure CO2 emissions. So we cannot and should not start from scratch. We have, as I said, to build on what already exists. And our job is to bring them together, encourage them to work together, incentivize them to reach an agreement. So yes, we are honest brokers. I would also say that sometimes we are sparring partners, because from the Commission side, we'll be pushing very gently, but I would say also very decisively to really push the industry to achieve results, because this is a challenge that we all have to contribute. And as I said, I think this is a natural role to play by the Commission. And I would even say it's the one we feel most at ease, working closely with the industry, but it's really industry in the driving seat, taking decisions and decided on, I would say, how they want to really take forward this very important initiative.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lucia. And you were saying just before, you were thanking the experts. I'm going to say we have fantastic experts in this European Film Forum. I'm really impressed, I must say. And we're going to talk right now into the discussion, You Are What You Measure. I said already it's my favorite title. Experience so far with carbon calculators. So we're going to have to focus a little bit what's happening. The carbon emissions measurement is, of course, this is a key step towards the greening of the audiovisual sector. And of course, several initiatives have already been taken. So there are very different methodologies, we were saying, which have been developed. So we want to explore together with our three experts, what are the results so far, what are the lessons learned, and what is the potential for a coordinated approach. And I'm going to welcome here to my left, Max, it's wonderful hybrid settings here. Maximilian Höhnle, he has a background in film production, actually, so he knows what he's talking about. He has been also working as a green consultant for sustainable film and production. He is now the project manager Produktionsförderung, so production funding and subsidized for green shooting at the unit film funding at MFG. Welcome, Maximilian. Then I have drinking coffee right now, Rosa Canela-Mas. It's a pleasure to have you again. It was 2 or 3 years ago. So we can see that sustainability is really hardcore work every year. So I see you again. I'm very glad. Rosa is a sustainability consultant and advisor at the BAFTA Albert. And she's running the international strategy at BAFTA Albert. And she's also managing and directing the build for the latest version of the Albert Toolkit. So that's great that you are with us, because it is, of course, including a carbon calculator and a certification process of international use. So welcome, Rosa. And then I will have on my farthest right, Luz Molina, legal advisor and project manager at Pro Malaga and Eureka. And she's passionate about law and sustainability. So that's great to have also your perspective here. And Luz also manages European projects. And currently she's working on the Green Screen, a project whose aim is to improve and implement sustainable measures in the audiovisual sector. So I would start with why do we measure, maybe? I mean, I don't want to take it really from scratch, but to have it really to the point, because I like this idea also, like you are what you measure, but you can't manage what you can't measure, basically. So who wants to take it first? Why do we measure?
Yeah, that's actually a great question to start. And definitely we should measure, because if you don't measure, you cannot improve the result. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely super basic things, because I remember like in 2017 when we started getting green screen here in Spain, and we start talking with the industry, and we say like, hey guys, we definitely need to start doing things. We need to start to change our minds and process, and we need to start to be more sustainable. And the answer was like, we are not a bad industry on that topic. We are not making a great impact in the environment. We are like, not so bad at chemistry or a big industry. And I said like, well, maybe that's your conclusion, because you never measure actually what is your impact. Mm-hmm. And when we start using calculator and we show them the result, they were like extremely impressed, like, hey guys, you are making this movie, you need to, grow 30 different trees and keeping them for 30 years to compensate the disaster that you have done. And they were like, oh my God, this is terrible. And said like, yeah, and this is definitely why you have to measure.
Okay, good.
So show exactly what is that the result.
Yes, Rosa, go on.
I completely agree with Luke. It's about understanding, no? Like as an industry, we basically, you can't improve if you don't understand, but it's also to understand where the big impacts are, because for so many years we've been talking about single-use plastic. And actually, single-use plastic has a really small impact compared to the transport or to the energy. So again, measurement, you can't improve unless you understand what's your main impact. And yeah, it definitely connects with what Luke was saying.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I would say, actually, maybe we also need to measure because public support might be linked to data, right? Maximilian, what do you think of this?
Yes, right now we're not linking it really, because we don't have that data yet to compare all the productions.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a reason why we measure the productions to get collect the data and see what kind of production makes how much emission. And so maybe in the future we will link it and say if you have that emission, you can get only that much of money. But I don't think it will be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So let us dig a little bit more in this subject of measurement. So how do you measure the impact of a co-production, actually, when there are like different parties and possibly also countries involved when it is an international co-production? Who would like to answer first? Rosa. Oh, sorry. Maximilian, go on, and then I will take Rosa.
Yeah, I think it's one of the hardest parts of measurement, because right now I have a production, Austrian, German production. They're applying for funding, and we have different standards for measuring. And I think that's one of the things we have to do in the next couple months to create a system where you can compare all the measurements, and you can say, okay, if I measure with Allbird or I measure with our calculator, we were getting the same results. And of course, with the local databases, but at the end, we can compare everything. And I think that's quite complicated right now.
Mm-hmm. Rosa, you wanted also to say something right away.
Yeah, so basically in our case, because that's an experience that we had the past few years. So in the past, we had a calculator for the UK, then we did a calculator for the Netherlands, then another for Canada, then another for Ireland. And then we realized that we couldn't just be creating like calculators that they were not linked to each other. So for example, on this new case, what we did is we created a system on the Albert tool that you can, obviously you need localized emission factors, that I think that's what we all here working on, and an analysis methodology. But also it's about having a system where two companies from different places can access the same footprint. So, I mean, for us from the Albert side, what we would like is to see both production companies in both countries working on the same footprint. And if that's not possible, obviously, so have alignment methodologies that one production company can use one tool and another one. But it's really important that here we make sure that we don't double up on data. So I think that's something that we actually have never mentioned before on the group. But if we're using different tools, it's super important that we understand that we're not doubling up and measuring twice the same data.
Mm-hmm. So accessibility, aligned methodology. Luz, what else?
Yeah. Actually, like I am here, like in both phases. Like I am on behalf of ProMálaga, but I am also on behalf of lead partner of Eureka. And Eureka is actually a European calculator. It's a very ambitious project that it was created at the very beginning, the idea, basically because of the problem of co-productions. Because inside of our partnership in Green Screen, we did have like several different calculators, and we make the test of when one audiovisual project, we tested with a different calculator, and the results were different, depend of which calculator you were using. And we conclude that that was something really terrible, because we cannot send to the industry the message that your impact depend of the calculator that you are using.
Yeah.
That's actually really tricky things.
Yes.
Because you can conclude like, okay, maybe this calculator, it's giving me less impact, so I'm going to use this one because somehow I am greenwashing. And that was actually that we definitely want to avoid it. So based on that, and with a scientific support from the Leuven University, we were working in developing like a database of information and data, conversion data that can be used all around Europe. So it doesn't matter where you are actually filming. You can make co-productions, and each production can introduce their information in our tool, and it doesn't matter because the result is going to be harmonized. So obviously we are taking in account all the factors that are local, as Rosé already mentioned, but there is some certain information that can be harmonized all around Europe, and that is definitely we want to do, because we can finally compare projects around Europe and also co-production, which is really, really important.
But Lucia was saying something very important. She said it's not going to be a substitution of what is existing, but it will somehow, and it's not even an additional layer making it even more complicated, as I understand that, right? But can you tell me, before we elaborate on these coming measures, can you tell me the state of the play of the calculators right now? Are they well used? Are they well all working? How does it work? Who would like to, Maximilian maybe first?
I can.
Oh, Rosa. Okay.
Obviously, I think everybody.
Yeah.
I think everybody's gonna say about that. So in terms of Albert, obviously, I mean, we've been playing on this for the last 10 years. So right now we've done, like, I think it's the 4th iteration that we do to our tool, which is the first one that is fully international. So in our case, our tool is being used at the moment for over 2,000 companies in 40 different countries. I think it's probably more from the last time I've checked it. And we have a database, which kind of ties with Maximilian was saying. We have a database of 11,000 footprints from all the last 10 years, which I think every year now we measure around 1,500. So obviously this is really important for us every time that we update the tool, because we have lots of data already in storage, so we can understand a little bit better the industry. But I think it's a market that obviously more and more productions are going after. And measure.
Thank you, Rosa. Maximilian?
Yeah, we're in the stadium that we're only since 5 years collecting data, so we don't have that much measurements like you, Rosa. But we are improving the calculator each year, and talking with the green consultants and the companies what kind of data they want to collect and what's possible, and trying to build a perfect calculator. But we know that's right now not possible, because we don't have all the data we need from the science, for example. So we're improving it and trying to get on the way to collect all the data production is emissioning.
So data seems to be really central, right? That's why this panel is also called You Are What You Measure. So all this data is collected and is used to improve the systems in place already? I mean, like the national systems? Luz?
It's kind of tricky, because from my point of view, and I think that everybody that is working on sustainability is going to tell you the same, data, it's important, but it's not everything. Because we are very focused sometimes in quantity, but it also not to lose the focus on quality. Because the problem is that not all the data, it's as important as other kind of data. Rosa, for example, mentioned before, like the single-use plastic, but transportation, it's much worse, for example, and electricity and use of electricity too. So yeah, definitely data is information, but in the end, if you measure your CO2 footprint, for example, and you have a result, if you don't know how to understand that result, it doesn't matter. So it is not about measure what is your impact. It's about to understand what are the key points that need to be improved and reduce that result. But you are only able to reduce that result if you are having like a methodology on the process. So you need to understand all things from the very beginning, and you need to plan your audiovisual productions from the idea, including a sustainability in the whole process, not just by the end of the project measure the disasters that you have done, but at the beginning trying to avoid it.
Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that a lot of effort has been done all through Europe, actually, to educate in the last couple of years, and it has been even accelerated. Would you agree with this, all of you? What is still missing? Maximilian?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of new green consultants in Germany, and we're teaching them the whole year. So right now, what we are missing also as funding is that not all the productions are interested in the topic. And we have to talk to them and explain them why it's important to work greener and do the measurements and everything, and that green production is important for everyone. And it's quite complicated to get to all the productions, and they not want to shot in green.
Yeah, so it means you also have to explain them like how to measure exactly, how to report. So you certainly have an expert for each shooting on that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Rosa, you wanted to add something on this.
Yeah, so about the question before and this one, so it's about the data. It's important to improve the systems, definitely 100%. Like obviously you keep up your system. Like we work every day of the week in the system, like we carry on even if we have one. And for example, you can see things like 5 years ago, for example, productions were willing to enter the data manually because they were understanding what a carbon footprint is, what measurement is, like they understanding their production. But now, for example, in our case, we're seeing that productions, they wanna pull the information from other software. So you do that. So it's about understanding the data that you're receiving to create solutions for the productions, and not only solutions on how to enter the data. For example, solutions on, an example that I always explain is in the UK, lots of years ago, looking at the footprints that we were receiving, we realized that no one was using renewable energy, absolutely no one. And in the UK, you have the opportunity to get renewable energy on the grid. Mm-hmm. So we created a project to facilitate production companies, studios, to post-production houses to get to contract renewable energy. And I think that's what I expect from this group as well, and from the European Commission to the, okay, we get the measurement and we understand in which countries we're lacking the technology, or in which countries we need to create sub-projects to help them apply the solution. So data is really important for us to help the industry, basically. That's what I would say. And for the last question that you asked on what we're missing, I think what we're missing is what we're here for, that is an alignment on methodologies, that productions are comfortable. It's not their problem that there are different calculators. Their problem is to enter the data and to reduce their impact. And that's what we need to help them on, creating links and methodologies between the existing tools.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it means what the industry is asking for, because it is also driven for the industry, because, okay, they have to enter the data. Of course, everybody wants to improve also somehow, but they want to be careful also not to have additional costs and completely crazy processes and complexity, and because they want to concentrate on storytelling, on good production quality, and etc. It's not their job, like primary job, but they still want, and you see this in the industry, everybody wants to be like, you know, doing something and improving something. So what do you think? So the industry is asking for harmonization, right? Alignment, if I understand right. On the same time, we're saying like, well, the systems in place are not going to change. They're not going to be replaced, and they're not going to be complexized, so to speak, by something new. So do I understand that right? If I would like to make a picture of this, it is like there are some muscles already, and you know it is the capsules between the muscles, so something which is enabling the flow. Is that the image to make it work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have been in this expert technical group working, as Lucia said, since June. And what we have been saying since the very beginning is we as companies and institutions and public institutions, we need to be the ones giving the example. So we need to cooperate and coordinate it and use resources, not to waste resources and waste time to starting something from scratch. So definitely what we are trying to do is to actually agree in which are the most important data and trying to harmonize in between the tools that are already there. So in whatever tool you can take that information and actually measure what is the impact and report that information. So the industry already gave us a great example about how they can change methodology pretty quickly. Actually, that happened with COVID. And they increased budget because they need to include new things in the set. And they did it, and they did it pretty quickly because they have no other choice to keep actually shooting. So now I think that there is not more excuse about like, oh, this is too complex, or oh, this is going to increase the budget, because budget is already there. So what you were using for COVID now, you can use to make your set actually more sustainable. So I think we are in a wonderful moment to actually make the change.
So that's interesting because the system is not completely homogeneous, otherwise we wouldn't have the need to harmonize, obviously. But there are like the best in classes, the most sophisticated ones. They probably don't want to scale down. So which best practices are you specifically observing? Luz, again, please?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, obviously, there is very basic calculator, and for sure, as was said, for example, Albert have a great experience on being calculator for several years, but that means that Albert have to reduce their potential. And obviously, if you are like a one single production and you have a really tiny production, maybe Albert is too much for you, and you want to use something like easier to use. But then there are always going to be big production that want to measure until, you know, several center of things. And it's market for everybody. So this is not a competition. It's more like a cooperation.
Yes.
So there is not a problem for that.
That's right.
But at least from my point of view.
Yeah.
Rosa.
I completely agree with Luz. And it's about, we need to take into account that maybe a new production that is coming in and they've never measured, they'll be like, okay, I wanna start for something simple. It depends on the ambition of the producer. We have to say, like, the senior management is really, really important on these cases. But then obviously, in our case, for example, we've been working 10 years with Fremantles, with BBCs, with Warner Brothers in the UK. So, I mean, I really doubt these productions suddenly now they're going to be like, oh, okay, I could measure, I don't know, with Albert, I measure like 80 parameters, but now I'm just going to go down and measure 10. Like, I really doubt, like, what I see in the industry is you're going more and more and more. So it's really important that from the European Commission, we measure like a set standards, like maybe a little bit more simplistic, just to cover the greenhouse protocol. But then obviously companies, now that they're actually reporting and using this data to learn and to understand their risks as a company, because we need to mention the risks. So production companies have risks because of climate change. So I really doubt that now we're going to go backwards. Does it make sense? Like, I think we're just always going to go. We just need to learn how to build a system, like how to improve a system for, as Luke said, maybe it's not as time consuming to put the data. That's why we're looking at APIs at the moment, to link to softwares, to different softwares, etc. So it's about improving and giving them as much data as possible with the less effort as possible.
Absolutely. I think
the thing is, like,
yes, please.
And that's also related with what Lucia said in the very beginning. We need to give answer to the 27 countries that is in part of the European Union. And the problem is that not all the countries are in the same situation right now. So we need to give an answer to all of them, from the tiny producer until BBC. So that's challenging, but that's also good. And the way that you can do that is actually like creating like levels. You can have like green stamps, and you can say like, okay, this is the basic one, so you are making your best until this, and then for sure you can have like silver or platinum stamps for production that they are doing great. So you always can, show how much effort you have done, but it's also depend of the resources that the production has. The thing is, like, we need to be able to cover all of them and to give answer to all of them.
That's a very important point. I would like to make a last round with the last question. I would like to know for each of you, what do you think looks a coordinated approach like in the very next future when this is working? What will happen? Give us, please, the perspective, why we will do that. And so enter data, reduce, improve, so to speak. So what is the result of this? Maximilian, would you like to start?
Yes, I think, well, my goal is that we're working together and we can exchange all the data, and it doesn't matter with which kind of calculator I'm using, and everyone in the other countries is accepting the results. That's I'm hoping for. Okay,
thank you. Rosa?
Say, I would expect a better experience for productions, and that's, for me, it's the most important thing, because basically I'm here for them, we are here for them. And also quicker solutions, especially in the European Union, because again, understanding the data is going to give us the opportunity to apply solutions, to talk to governments, to talk to policymakers, to say, okay, this needs to change, because we've seen the data that there is a lack of like good practice in certain areas.
Thank you. And Luz?
So I think that this coordination needs to be like a virtuous circle, like industry asks for it and institution giving an answer back to them. So we need to help them, and we all are needed, like public institutions are needed to provide the funds and the support. Companies that are giving the advice, as for example, Harvard, are needed. And obviously we cannot do any of this without the industry. So we need to make them part actively of the process and create like solutions that are actually helping them to understand the whole thing and to make their part of the industry, not as an option, but as something that it itself part of the audiovisual industry. So
right.
That's for me the coordination.
Absolutely.
That we needed.
Yes, that is great. So I hear this coordination and I see the perspective where this imperative basically is going to lead us to. So you are giving hope. That's great. Thank you very much for all of you to have been a part of this panel, which is preparing the next step. And also the European Film Forum is built that way. So each step is going to bring us to further in the understanding and the coordination. Thank you to all of you, the three of you. Yeah, and we will go on now. We will go on now with our green film production experts. It's, I mean, everybody knows him, I think. It is Philippe Gassman. Philippe is an expert for green film and TV production and creation, while also being a director, producer, author, and speaker. It's a pleasure to see you again, Philippe Gassman. We worked together in real life here in Berlin 2 years ago. So you've been working hard. You are the expert behind all the details. So I am very curious to hear a common European measurement system explained by Philippe Gassman. Please, Philippe.
Thank you so much. Thanks to, and there are many great experts in the group here as well. So we're a team, and I think that's exactly what it's all about: being a team and working together. And just before I start summing up, because I would like to say a little bit more about what we did in this European group, which I'm very privileged to be a part of. But before I do that, I want to just say one little thing that maybe not everybody has heard, but Last week on Friday, we had a very, very special announcement in Germany with our new Minister of State for Culture, Claudia Roth. And we do have now in Germany the so-called ecological minimum standards for film and TV production for everybody. And that's a huge step. It's a really massive step that now we really have a system, we have a standard, and this standard is going to be extended next year to all the media industry. This year it's all the big TV stations, the big production companies, everybody is part of this system, of this new standard system. So that's a massive step. And Claudia Roth said something important, which is leading directly to what we're talking about today. She said she needs numbers. She needs good numbers, precise numbers. And she also said she needs European numbers, so that we can talk on a European level. And I was privileged to make a study 2 years ago on exactly this kind of topic, looking at the European perspective. And I saw how difficult it is to get accurate data from all the European countries. And that's also what's been mentioned in the discussion before. So for us, this is really crucial to have something that's really comparable, standardized, so that we can really talk face to face and talk in a very accurate and professional way. So just talking about the group we had and the discussions we had, at the beginning, I was a little bit scared it would be like this. We would be like a European calculator contest. And fortunately, this did not happen. Basically, we focused on really creating a tool together, on finding new ways, and we shared our experience with our calculators. We shared our experience with our databases, and we found they're all great tools. We have a beautiful tool in Germany as well. There are several great tools in the market right now, but they're all very different, and they all have very different approaches, and they all have different databases linked to them. So we already saw before in the discussion that this is an issue and that we needed to look for a common system, and we need to look for this common system very, very fast, because the climate change is not waiting. We should not spend time digging our own little garden in every corner and forgetting about the big picture. And I think that's what it's all about today, the big picture. So we saw there's two different also approaches and two different demands from the market. One is being, make it more simple. The other people are saying, make it more complex, make it more complicated. And of course, there's still quite a few issues regarding, for example, costuming, or regarding, for example, set decoration, where we would like to have this systems or these calculators being more complex, being more accurate and more detailed. But on the other hand, we know that Europe is not all over in this specific situation that we can already ask this kind of work from everybody. And Lucia said something very important. And that's this huge and important motto to say, leave no one behind. We do have countries in Europe that don't have green experts. We have in Germany now 300 green consultants, but not every country has these experts to maintain a calculator, to do these things in such detailed way. So there's big inequalities, there's total different markets, there's total different levels of knowledge when it comes to green production. And that's exactly the reason why we said, okay, we need a basic tool. And we put our egos aside, and we said, okay, let's do something that we can all share. And that's going to be the basis. That's going to be the common calculator for Europe. And I call it the European CU calculator. And the idea, as Lucia and some other in this round already said, the idea is not to replace the beautiful national calculators we do have, but have a simple and very basic tool, a very simple and basic European CU calculator that's easy to use and that offers comparable data for everybody. So this is not rocket science. Basically, what we need is identical CO2 factors for the main international parameters, which is not difficult to agree on because they're the same. And then we do have the issue of specific CO2 factors for each country. And as we know, the electricity, for instance, in Europe has different CO2 values, but also hotels. There's a few topics that are different in Europe. But here again, it's about defining the right databases, on agreeing on the right databases, and then putting this all together in the calculator. It should be available as a standalone tool, meaning that you can use it alone. You can use it alone, and then it'll be really easy to use. Or, and that's, I think, the great idea, is it can be implemented as a profile in all the existing calculators, meaning if you use Albert, you have a European profile. You have the European calculator profile. If you use the MFG calculator, the calculator we're using in Germany, you have the European profile as well. And it's always going to be the same. So you have the option within your calculation system to work with this European calculator so that finally we have comparable data, the same data for everybody, because this is crucial. Otherwise, people won't believe us. They won't trust us. If we come up with different systems, people will say, well, this is a big mess. You need to work on it. And I think this is really crucial. We need to work on this very, very quickly. And I'm very happy that with this group, we're working on this in a very, very intense way. So it's going to be online. It's going to be an online tool, of course, so that also the parameters and data can be adjusted. you see what you get, you already see immediately the results. And what we also want to work on is to really have both sides of the issue, meaning fossil energies, fossil fuels versus green renewable CO2 data, so that you can see immediately in the calculator, are you on the green side? You know, how much are you on the green side and how much fossil fuel is still in there? Because we all know if we want to be climate neutral, fossil fuel has to go. So the less fossil fuel, the better. And that's also something you're going to see in this calculator immediately. And of course, there's going to be some little tools in it. You can immediately convert this into an Excel sheet so you can work with it, or a PDF report. And it should be easy both in collecting and analyzing the data. And again, in being able to compare and come up with accurate data. And when it comes to the parameters, just two or three little quick words about that. It's been said before, talking about plastic cups. They're not a big CO2 factor. Paper, same thing. I saw people in many productions we observed and we calculated, they counted every single sheet of paper. It's not a big emission topic. Same thing with waste. I saw people even weighing waste in order to have the CO2 emission calculated. It's not a big factor as well in many, many cases. So it's easy to reduce this to the main topics. And I think that's what our colleagues from all over Europe experience as well. If you look at the main parameters, they're always the same, pretty much. It's travels, it's transportation, it's accommodation. Energy is a huge factor, generators, catering, and of course, set construction in certain productions, but not always. And if we focus on these things and really work on that and get this tool going as quickly as possible, then we will have this European approach, and then it will be easier to take everybody on board and to really push forward with this very important issue. So that's my little report from this working group. We'll be working on it in the next weeks, and there's a big pressure on it, and I really hope that we can achieve this tool in the coming months so that everybody can work with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Philippe Gassman, our green industry expert here. I know that a lot of people are behind you and, of course, working with you in a tight cooperation. So this is great to see the progress and to see also what we were discussing 2 years ago, where we are today. So this is, for me, also very interesting. I have a small question, Philippe. Is this green trees behind you? Are you in a country with green leaves right now, or is it something on your wall?
Listen, we're in the world of cinema, so that's one of the oldest tricks. You know, it's just a wallpaper. You know, but if you still saw the forest, then the illusion was somewhat okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Philippe. So it shows you are totally on the green thing, not only in the next weeks probably, but months and years to come. Thank you. And yes, indeed, the industry is mobilized to take forward the greening of the audiovisual industry as such, and looks forward to a common European measurement system. But at the same time, what's in it for businesses? And this is going to be our next round with our next experts coming up, because of course it's all very good to know, yes, of course it's good for the planet, it's good for everyone, it's good because we are bringing it forward, but we want to know in terms of business, what is actually happening in the industry. And I have with me three fantastic experts again. Fiona Ball from the Bigger Picture Group, Director responsible business, sustainability and social impact at the Sky Group. Welcome, Fiona. Fiona is really an experienced director and sustainability leader with over 30 years experience. And she's responsible for Sky's new flagship environment campaigns, Sky Zero and Sky Ocean Rescue. So she knows what she's talking about, that's for sure. Alexandra Lebray, I wanted to say it in French, sorry. Director General, European Producers Club. She is decorated with the Chevalier des Arts et Lettres for her work in favor of the European cinema. So she's quite someone, I would say. She's currently managing director of the EPC, but she's also the founder and the director of Mare Nostrum Productions. So also somebody who knows the industry really from the core. And Tomasz Morawski, producer of Haka Film. He's a producer based in Warsaw, where he's running Haka Film since 2017. And he's really one of the leaders in green change in Poland. Welcome to all of you, so that we can actually discuss what's in it for businesses. So maybe let's have a first short round with all of you. Maybe let's start with Fiona. What does it mean concretely for you, Fiona, to green, to decarbonize a production? And gladly bring your own perspective, your own experience into this conversation to start with. Tell us a little bit more. What does it mean concretely for you?
So for us, it's part of our overall ambition at Sky to be net zero carbon by 2030. All of our productions are a massive part of our footprint and are part of our scope 3 emissions. So it's inherently part of our transition to kind of a net zero world. So part of it is working in partnership with all of our production companies. It's planning and innovating with those production companies and looking at ways that we can, reduce the kind of overall footprint of what we're doing and what we're putting on air. And then also having a looking at ways that we can engage our viewers through the productions themselves, either, behind the scenes, kind of explaining and sharing what we've done to reduce our overall footprint, or whether it's through the content itself and really engaging people and inspiring people to look at sustainability in their home or in their workplace.
Mm-hmm. You have been using the Albert system from scratch, more or less, right?
Yeah, so we've been part of Albert for over 10 years now. And all of our Sky Originals are now Albert certified. They all go through the footprint both right at the beginning of the production, in the budget phases, so when we're having a look at what we're wanting to do, and then we measure the footprint at the end as well. So we look at how we can both measure and also reduce the overall impact. But we've been doing it for our Sky Originals, so our entertainment platforms, but also our news and our sport, and not only in the UK, but also in Germany and Italy. So it's been really successful for us, and it's been, it's been a great tool that we can use to really understand where the opportunities are to reduce our impact, but also to save money. A lot of these things that we look at in terms of reducing our footprint as part of a production does also save the production money in the long run in the budget.
I'm definitely going to come back to that one later on with the successful thing. But I'm going on with my little first round. And Alexandra, for you, what does it mean concretely to green, to decarbonize as a representative of the European producers and as a producer yourself? I can't hear you now.
Good morning. Yes. Good morning, everyone. And actually, we were one of the first organizations, the first of producers to have a green charter, and we copy many elements of Sky because you were the first one to have that green perspective. And it was very difficult to have that green charter because it's, as Philip was mentioning before, it was people was asking for more simple, other more complicated. So it was very to find a balance that was, improving the situation. And we have seen since many green initiative, green charters coming up out in the market. So the first objective was to create awareness in the industry, and I think we did it. So that's good. But I don't believe that we are going to change the global warming by waste management. And I believe that we need to change the paradigm really. And in 3 parts. I'm very French, I'm having 1.2. But the first one should be to have, we do believe that any support system should be linked to green commitment. There is no other choice. Whatever it is, I'm not speaking about harmonization. Any production should be submitted to a green commitment. That's it. No calculation, no, we are not at school, no calculation. We commit ourselves to change our behavior. And to change the behavior is something that is super important, because when we ask our members after 1 year of the application of the Green Charter, how did you succeed and what were the difficulties, the obstacles you faced in fulfilling the 10 points? And they said roughly that the most difficult is to change the behavior on the set, to change people's uses of working. And it's not possible to have it if you are not bringing them in a positive message. You have to bring them and telling them that you are going to change the world. Otherwise, if you are having a position that makes them guilty, it won't happen. It won't happen. It's too complicated. So we discovered by doing that survey that many producers have been innovative in terms of generators, in terms of costume. Philip, you mentioned that also. And what we need now today, for me, from the industry perspective, is to have someone helping us to identify all these innovations and to put them on light and to bring people using this innovation, because that's how we are going to change the world, and that's how we are going to bring these people to help us in that field. The third paradigm that we need to change, for me, is the way we are financing the films. We need to stop to have territorial conditions of spend, meaning that when you are co-producing, you need to bring your team and your whoever in a place where you have to spend the money, which is against the principle of being green. And so I don't have any solution, but we need to think also in the way we are supporting the film industry. So that's me for the first one.
Very good. So, and now, Thomas, it's your time to tell me, I mean, especially from your position as a leader in Poland for this greening movement in the film industry.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I would like to say that I don't feel as a leader right now, because there is much more people who are even more committed to green filming and to changing the industry than I am right now, because I'm still shooting and I still produce waste. And what can I say? Well, we will never be probably carbon neutral in film production, but the thing that we can try to do and that we are doing right now is to cut as much as possible. And so there is a big movement in Poland right now trying to figure out how to support green filming, how to support it with financing from the regions. Actually, regions are the leaders right now of the green filming in Poland, and they are coming up with number of solutions and even number of ideas how to support producers, how to support local companies with using the green filming. And from my point of view, we got into the place in which we were actually able to implement all of the ideas which we had, and we got into the moment in which we need the support from the organization, like from the local organization or even from the government, because we got into the place where we cannot segregate some of the trash cans and stuff like this because of the different approach in different regions. So that's the moment in which we came in which we are able to bring back the information from the set, how we can improve the things. Unfortunately, we are still using fossil fuels, and this will not disappear from day to day. There's much more and more going on about electricity and using electricity cars. But in the same time, that's the thing which Alexandra said, that most important thing is in our heads and in the heads of the crews which we're hiring. So to be honest, 100%, we got into the point in which, from our point of view as a production, we got to the level that we couldn't maximize and we couldn't done more. And then we realized that this is not true, that actually we can still think about some new ideas, that we can for each ream of paper, that we can bring a new tree to the industry, and we can, finding this small solution which will move us forward in the moment in which we cannot overcome big things like getting the electricity in every place where we go with shooting the film, meaning that we will need to use the generator. But then, well, generators is a great example of wasting energy. They produce hundreds of thousand tons of CO2, even if we don't need it, because we have the moment in which we'll need like the high moment when we will consume quite a lot of energy, and then we don't need this amount of energy, but still the generator will work as we would need the maximum of it. So that's and then that's the moment in which we found that there are much more places where we can think how we can improve, but we have to make the step down. And the most important step which we are taking is actually talking with the crews and trying to reuse, renovate, think how we can actually use the 5R: reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and renew. And as long as we're able to do this, and as long as we're able to talk with the whole crew and just point them, guys, think where we can go more green, what we can do to do not produce waste, that's the best support. And I have to agree 100% with what Alexandra said, that basically it have to be in us. The all measurement application, all of these things, they will help us, of course, to bring this and to evolve, but the beginning is inside our heads. And that's the biggest approach that we have right now, because from my point of view, it became for me and my team kind of easy to think where we can be more green. But then when I met with a couple other producers, it came out that this is not as common thinking as I thought. Like, from my point of view, it's like, let's find a solution. And from their point of view, this is kind of like a big thing sometimes to actually look for the solution. And they're usually really easy to come up with those ideas.
Yes.
So the biggest thing is the change of the mind.
Yes, exactly. And this is happening in the industry. You can see it. And I think that you are already like a big step forward, because I hear you talking about like, hey, how can we improve this? How can we actually make the next step? How can we identify the innovation? So I think it means to me that you are there. And it seems also that the initiative of the institutions is also there to support. And we are also in this a great example today from the European Commission. So I would like to know, because you know, all the questions like, oh, is it difficult to etc. It's not even if it is difficult to do. It is an imperative, and I think that everybody is agreeing on this. So I'm gonna skip this question about like, oh, is it a lot of money and whatever. You know, skip it. So, but I want to go now to the core of this panel. What's in it for businesses? So from the moment you do it, you talk about it, you innovate about it, you implement new ideas, you share these ideas, you share the new practices, and let's pretend you are now also using this new way to calculate, the basic, simple calculator on top of it. And you measure, and you give the data, and it's simple, that's great. So now, which constructive outcomes are you expecting from it in the short term? And I will start maybe with Fiona. Getting back to Fiona. Fiona, you have been a pioneer in this, so now you start with this. What are you expecting from the, in terms of short-term positive outcomes?
It's the outcomes are innovation. It's looking at how you can bring a production onto screen in different ways. I think Thomas, was putting something really important, that it's on the mindset. The biggest way to get a rollout of an understanding of how you can make green productions and how you can make that the norm is to really give people the kind of understanding and the awareness of what we're looking for. So as part of what we've done, I mean, we have a green memo. We've got sustainability production guidelines that's available to everybody, and it's part of our green light process. So it's something that we do for every single production, because I think that's really key. It's got to be inherently part of everything that you do. It's the norm, and that's what we really want to be. This is the norm. This is how we do business from now on. In order to do that, you need to really support the industry as well. So we've made carbon literacy training, for all of our internal teams, for all of our production teams, so that everybody has the understanding and the same mindset as us in order to really run with it. So what's in it for us and what's in it for the industry is very quickly finding a way that this can be the norm. It can be the norm of, bringing something to air, bringing ideas and generations, but through a lens of sustainability. So through a lens of understanding what the footprint is and what we can do right from the outset to reduce that impact on our business. It's really important for us. It's part of our overall kind of net zero commitments. We need to include what we bring to air and how we make production and how we bring it to air as part of our overall strategy. So for us, this is really how do we do this in a way that speeds things up and includes the industry.
I see an image of a snowball, right? So
yes.
If a broadcaster like you is actually like saying, well, we're doing this now. I mean, obviously, you had this pioneer role. You still certainly have it. So the industry is going to replicate, especially if they have no choice, right? So this snowball is going to grow, hopefully. So this is one of the positive outcome. In terms of, Alexandra, how do you see this? Which outcomes, what's in for your businesses, for the businesses you are representing? What do you think?
The outcome of being more green is a problem, because the global warming is happening, and that's a major problem with that green question. How can we convince people to do something whereas we know that it's happening? So that's why I do believe that the outcome should be very focused on innovation, as I mentioned, on all the innovation that have been put in place. And that should be identified. I know just some of them because I made some phone calls with the line producers that were super active on Grenlodia. That was, for instance, that Romulus and Romulus TV series for Sky. It was absolutely amazing, and they invented a lot of things in other TV series. So I could identify that because I did, the job to prepare that panel. But we need someone, that gather all this innovation and other innovation, how we can bring more innovation into our industry. And that's not only linked to the green, that's also linked to the way that we need to change our behavior to adapt the production to the future. So that for me is key. But also, as I was mentioning earlier, to change the way we need absolutely to have a general thinking about the way we are financing the works. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. Thomas, please.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the shortest outcome is happening right now, because I hope that this discussion will influence more than one person and start thinking about green filming. But in general, I would dream that green filming will be the thing which will start from the scratch, so from the script, and that everyone in the industry, not only the producers, not only the business, but also the crews, will understand that things that we put into the script actually affect how we have to shoot. And this is an outcome of this, how green we can be at the end. Mm-hmm. So that would be the big impact that we could do.
Okay, but let me ask you even more thoroughly here, because I heard what's in for businesses. So I think of a business, obviously. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about the economical benefits also? Are there any economical benefits, or is it only costs, and difficult imperatives and data and check and report and prove and etc.? So do you have any economical results which are positive?
Well, from my point of view, I can say only one thing. Green filming doesn't cost me more. It even brings number of solutions in which we have to think how we can actually save money. One of the factors which is really positive for the green filming is low budget. But there is like a small line in which you have too small budget to be green. Mm-hmm. And not enough big budget to actually, or like the exact budget in which you don't spend on everything and you can think about reusing stuff. So that's not the big budget actually helps think green, because then you have to think how to produce in easy way, more economic way, which helps. And in case of the business, I would say this way, that the biggest approach, the biggest thing is to find how we can actually complete both of those things. Because green filming is not an idea. It is a thing which we have to do, because in 10 years, we will start losing. We will lose water and it will cost us more. We will lose energy. We will not be able to adapt, and it will cost more to adapt in 10 years than right now. So I think in case of the budget, we need to change. We have to change. This is our responsibility also for the next generation of filmmakers, we need to rethink how we do films to be more green and to think how this will influence the budget. For sure, there will be situations in which we will pay more. But as I can say, from my point of perspective, green filming, any solution of green filming which we implemented on the set never costed us extra money. It did save us the money.
Who is agreeing to this, saving the money? Alexandra?
No, for me, it costs money for our producers, but it's not the question. The question should not even be asked. And I would like to just to echo what Thomas.
Sorry, I had to ask it.
No, but yes, but I have to answer you. It should not be asked because it has to be. So as long as it has to be, that's the state of play. You have to deal with that. So don't ask it again.
Okay, I will know it for the next one. But now, Fiona, I would like to hear. Are you saving money actually of being green? Do you have this economical impact positive?
I think it's cost neutral, to be perfectly honest. There's going to be some places that you do have to spend more money on in order to be sustainable. But there's other areas that you will obviously, save significant amounts of money. I mean, if you have a look at the big areas in production that there's an opportunity to kind of reduce your footprint, it will be around energy, it will be around travel, it will be, are there opportunities for remote production, which has been a big thing over the last 18 months, really looking at how we can innovate as an entertainment and production companies to do things remotely. And that has saved significant amount of money in terms of travel, in terms of diesel generations. Reducing kind of the materials that we use on set, whether there's opportunities to hire the set and hire it rather than actually make it for the production. We've, as part of Sky Ocean Rescue, took a big piece that we don't have any single-use plastics on any of our kind of productions and any of our sets, and that's a kind of a prerequisite for anything that we go forward. Now that does save money. You do look at other ways that you can, have kind of water on set, and use reusable kind of plastics instead of single-use plastics. Electronic call sheets do save you money in terms of the amount of paper and stuff. So there are always opportunities that you can look at kind of reducing your budget. But overall, I would say it's net neutral. There are going to be things that you will have to spend a little bit more money on, whether it's kind of purchasing of the renewable energy for the studios that you're hiring, etc. So I think it shouldn't be a key part of it, but there are opportunities if you can look at innovate and share, what has worked and where things, have kind of made an impact.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I would like to have an opportunity to ask you just for a couple of few words. What do you expect from this new progress, this new European commitment coming up, this new methodology, this harmonization coming up? What are you expecting for your productions, co-productions, international works? Starting with you, Alexandra.
I'm expecting to identify the sources of the most important pollution, but also in every field, not only in the production side, but also in the other part of the industry. We didn't tackle the question of the streamers and the other big companies that have a very negative green impact. And I do believe that it has to be a collective reflection. And I would like, the European Commission first to have that minimum green set of rules applying to every project that is supported, but also to look around the industry.
Ecosystem, absolutely. Thank you. Thomas?
I think in general, the green filming awareness, that would be the biggest thing, because this is not a common thing. And I would love this topic to be really something that everyone is thinking or trying to implement into the production. That would be the biggest thing from my point of view.
Thank you. And you, Fiona? Final words?
I think the biggest thing is that it's a commitment to all work together. We all have shared suppliers. We all use the same production companies. I think if we could all work together on a common tool, a common way of inspiring and bringing the right mindset to the industry, it would make things move much faster. I think we all commonly share production companies. We all work on the kind of same sets, the same studios. It would be great to have a same method that we can do this with.
Wonderful, thank you so much. You know, when I'm hearing you, I'm feeling something like the development of green intelligence integrated in the film industry. And I'd like to add a couple of words as a moderator and curator of conferences. My personal wish and envisioning of what's going to happen is not to have the sustainability tables, panels, etc. on conferences, but it is integrated in the industry. And I think that this green intelligence, this is what you are telling us, what you are expecting from it. And I think everything has been very well said. The integration, the responsibility, the rethinking, the innovation, the commitment to work together, which is fitting so well what we wanted to discuss today. So thank you so much to all three of you. And I'm going to give now the word to our closing speaker to complete this European Film Forum towards a more sustainable audiovisual industry. And the closing remarks will be done by Martin Dawson, who I was also announcing a little bit earlier today, the Deputy Head of Unit Audiovisual Industry and Media Support Programs at the European Commission, who is also contributing to taking forward the Media and Audiovisual Action Plan. Martin, please.
Thank you very much, AC, and thank you to all the participants in this really impressive discussion this morning. Very rich, a lot of enthusiasm, lots of great ideas. I could not hope to capture all of it in a few words, but nonetheless, I'll try just to show you how we've all been listening very carefully. I think we really can take away a lot from this in terms of the future work ahead. So there was a lot of consensus about the need to come together and work on a common approach to measuring carbon emissions across Europe. It was recognized these are the essential first step for a greening strategy. And work is ongoing, of course, as we speak. We haven't finished. We're somewhere in the beginning, but progress has been made to come together at European level, the industry, the member states, the national film funds, the regional film funds, and the European Commission. And as AC has said, we have an agreement, we have a common statement which is endorsed, to agree to establish a common standard, meaning we will measure the same things based on the same key parameters and measure them in the same way with harmonized carbon factors. Data is central to that, of course, so we need to identify the relevant databases that are behind the calculation, focusing on the key parameters, as Philip said, including in particular transport, energy, and accommodation. And there we will be able to show, for example, the relative weight of fossil fuel versus renewable energy. This common standard approach will help us work across the industry, from small, medium, big companies across Europe, 27 different countries, let us not forget, the variety of situations, the uneven, let's say, expertise across countries. It's important to find a general approach that leaves nobody behind. Everybody can jump on board, and that they can choose. They can choose also to what level of sophistication, what level of detail they want to calculate so that it's proportionate to the size of the production. This approach also helps us build on the existing calculators. It has been repeated. This is a plugin. It's something that can be embedded in the existing calculator. It does not substitute or replace. And we would like to thank again all the great work that has been achieved up till now. This is about bringing the industry together. And of course, measurement is key because it allows identifying and understanding the sources of carbon emissions. So analyzing the data, once you've collected the data, analyzing the data, and then thinking through what this means for changes to the production process, for example, switching to renewable energy, thinking it through will be extremely important. So what we are aiming for over the next couple of months, because this common tool will be developed over the coming months with the support of the Commission, what we're aiming for is a user-friendly online tool that will allow producers to see the results immediately. And we hope very much this will help to increase comparability and therefore increase trust, and therefore increase collaboration, in particular for European co-productions, which we think are a great priority and opportunity for the European audiovisual industry. The last panel, also extremely interesting. I think there was a lot of consensus about how this initiative can help to leverage change across the industry, speed up change, like a snowball. I heard AC say, like a snowball. I like that. It's very appropriate for climate change. There were some interesting ideas about the wider context. Calculators are a key first step, but of course there are other steps, there are other issues. There were some proposals about linking public support to greening, looking at greening of distribution, online distribution, as well as production. Looking at funding policy more generally, for example, decoupling funding from shooting in certain territories, which by definition could have a carbon impact. And there was a lot of consensus about the need to change mentalities. And again, that's why measurement and calculators are key, because when you have the data, when you have the evidence, this can help you have a conversation on set, for example, with crews on set, to change mentalities and raise awareness and get engagement. And when you get everybody involved, you can
I can take over. Yes, Martin, I'm sorry, I think we lost your sound. At least I did. So I'm going to finalize. I'm going to then finalize if we lost the sound of Martin. Yes, we will try to bring him back in a second. But for me, the most important aspect of this last sentence of Martin, well, like the mindset, makes me think actually that we are actually more that we measure. And the title I loved so much, that we measure, which is so actually in our society today where everything is performative and measured and meritocratic somehow with data, we are more than that. And I think it was a very inspiring conversation for me also today to even better understand it's a mindset. It's an imperative. It is the norm, and there is no discussion about that. I promise here in front of you all that I will never ask the question again about what it costs, because everybody wants to do this. So that's actually the great thing. So yes, we are toward this change, and my personal notes, which I use briefly before we take Martin back with us. we see that there is this change toward a mindset, and the European Commission with the new tool is going to support the efforts as an honest broker. I was also bringing the image of these national muscles which are working with European capsules to ease all the efforts to go towards a more greening intelligence. And I heard a lot about innovation. So an innovative green intelligence for the European audiovisual industry is something that everybody is wishing and is actually doing. And this is what I really love to hear. This is this collaboration. So to bring it even in a couple of words all together: innovative, collaborative, greening intelligence in the film industry here in Europe. So that's what we are all working on. I want to check very briefly if we could bring Martin back. Otherwise, I will close the session. So I think this is going to be a wrap. I'm sorry that we could not bring Martin back in these couple of minutes, but I think he gave already a very good summary of what happened in all the different conversations that you heard this morning here at the European Film Forum. So thank you so much to all of you who have been with us today. I hope it was an exciting conversation, and I hope that you want to be part of it. So let's stay tuned together on sustainability and making it happen. Thank you, and see you soon.